Welcome, everyone. I appreciate you being here. So, this week I ran into a couple of technology issues when I was working on my podcast, but also when I was working on my streaming. I have this amazing setup now, which I really, really love as I'm doing some streaming for video games, creating new content. But it was a couple hurdles this week where, everything seemed to be going great, and then it would stop. And I fiddle with a couple things, but not wanting to do too many different things. I'm like, let me just restart. And then lo and behold, it fixes itself. But that kind of got me thinking, right? The same thing happens on my Apple TV. App is broken. It's not working out. What do? You close it, you restart. Same thing with our phones and technology. You're working on them, something doesn't happen. The first inclination is to restart. So today, I ask that you join me on a journey as we explore, do we have the possibility of restarting parts of our life so that maybe in the end, things work out better? I'm your host, Eli Albalos, and this is Eli's Echo. So as I start this podcast, updates, I've been working on, if you've been listening to my previous podcast, I've been having these weird hiccups, and it's a really weird thing to say, right? And I've been cutting out vitamins, just trying to figure out like what's working and what's not working, and checking my diet, and things seem to be on par. And then it hit me the other day. I had been out of the house doing errands and no hiccups, everything was fine. As soon as I stepped in the house, I got hiccups. So I was like, well, I wonder if it's an allergy. So now I'm on day 2 of taking like histamine, just over-the-counter Claritin, to see like maybe I just have these weird allergies in Colorado, and maybe that's leading to hiccups. So I say that because I started an allergy med yesterday, and then I took one today. Knock on wood, I'll knock on my head, I don't have hiccups. So we'll see. I think y'all have been hearing these hiccups every now and then. So if I could solve that thing, it would be like wonderful. It's just a weird relief. But what's funny is I guess that kind of ties into my message this week as I was thinking about these technology issues I was having about restarting, right? So like literally I had these weird hiccups and I had to restart my processes, be it vitamins, be it diet, be it exercise, be it water, take things out, put things back in to kind of test to see like what is going on. And ironically, like none of those are the issues if it is going to be allergies. So, but that got me just thinking this week, I think is, I was having these technology issues. I was on Apple TV. It was just really ironic, the things I was experiencing. But with technology, we're all so prone to, close the app and restart it. Close your phone, restart it. It's not working. Is there updates? Computer doesn't work. The first thing I'm gonna do is just restart. I was online yesterday trying to troubleshoot this app that I have for my streaming service, and they're like, have you cleared the browser cache and restarted your browser or tried another computer? So it's just funny, right? Like whenever these problems occur in technology, the first thing to do is start over again. And it works, right? It works. But that's where I started thinking this week, I'm like, why is it so simple for us to restart technology, but in our lives, which are much more impactful, we're so hesitant to do that, right? And maybe it's inconsequential. Like I can restart my phone, not a big deal. I can restart my laptop, depending on what you're working on, because trust me, I was working on my dissertation this week, and if I would have had to restart because Microsoft Word wasn't working, I would have been a little upset if I lost data. But for the most part, restarting technology or something that's inanimate is inconsequential, right? So maybe that's where we get stuck, is we start to get in this cycle in our head of fear, right? False events appearing real, where it's like, well, I don't want to have to restart over again, be it a job. I don't want to have to seek out a new career. I don't want to have to seek out a new relationship. I have so much invested. But what's funny is if you applied that to something as inanimate as an app not working on your phone, Would you just sit there and let the app not work? Or would you restart it? Again, inconsequential, but I think it's so interesting that depending on the situation, we're so willing to make a change, but on the other hand, there's some situations where we're just not, and we don't want to. And so, I encountered that this week with technology, but then another one where I saw that this week is I had a friend that I had contacted. We kind of reconnected a couple weeks ago, and he helped me on an assignment for my one of my classes where I had to do an interview, and it was really neat, kind of connecting with him. And what was interesting, again, as a faith-based leader, these are the things, and he's faith-based as well, but as a faith-based person, and a leader, it was interesting when you start to connect the paths that you're on. And again, you can call it fate, following the universe, whatever you see. But I mean, ultimately, I think we all believe in there's some destiny. There's a future for us. For someone that's faith-based, it's religious, right? Like, okay, I think there's a reason why for everything. And so I connected with my friend, and I connected right after I started this streaming podcast stuff, right? And I got all my office set up, and I'm working with audio, and literally, I had scheduled to meet with him twice. The first time, I had, some a medical appointment. I couldn't make it, so I had to reschedule. So I rescheduled it for a week later. And in that week, in that 7 days that had passed from our previously scheduled meeting to the next one, I had been experimenting with my podcast stuff and with my streaming stuff and these new audio equipment that I have, and trying to find segments of like MP4s that I could embed in my videos that are royalty free. Like, there's all these weird things that you have to do when it comes to streaming externally, right? You have to have rights to music. Makes sense. I can't just blast out Taylor Swift on her new album. I can't do that. It'll be shut down. So I had been figuring and playing with that music stuff, trying to find a cool beat to put into my gaming stream. And I had found, a website the previous night, the night before I was going to meet my friend. Let's call him Stormy. I think it's really, really good. And ironically, if I apologize if you hear wind, I'm in Colorado, and we had a storm yesterday, and so there's still a little bit windy. So anyway, the night before I met with Stormy, I found a website where I could buy rights to a song. Obviously, it's not by like a famous artist, but it's this website that designs music specifically for content users like myself that are going to stream it, put it in apps, put it in games. And so I found this website where literally I could buy rights, and I get a contract that says, in perpetuity, I own the rights to this song, this copy of the song. So I found that website, and the next day I meet with Stormy, and we're talking, just playing a quick catch up before I have to do my interview with him for my class. And he had seen my office. So if you all are only listening to me, I encourage you a couple weeks ago to check out my YouTube link, because my office is really cool. I have it set up so I can stream gaming. But he had seen my office, the new setup. He's like, so I was panning around my camera so you could see it. And he had a similar room, not quite as cool as mine, I got to say. Like, I'm a very extreme setup for my room, but his was awesome nonetheless. He's a DC person. I am. So you can look at my chair, Marvel person. So he's panning around his room, and then right when he was done panning, the last second, he's like, oh yeah, and I got this new DJ equipment here. I'm going to re-pick up, kind of, putting some beats together. He has some time in his day now, and so I'm like, oh, what do you mean? I go, oh, I forgot you used to DJ, right? He goes, oh yeah, I used to DJ, but I want to try and put some more music out there. I was looking at this, this hosting website. I'm like, oh, have you ever thought about creating MP4s, music formats for streamers? He's like, what? And so I told him my journey and what I had done. And so it was interesting. And the reason I think this all connects to Restart, one is if you were listening to the beat as we kicked off this podcast, that's his music. And so I'm reusing it. So #Stormy. That's not his real handle. He hasn't developed his handle yet. But the reason why this is interesting is he has some time in his day because he's recently got let go of a job. Dude's super bright, super intelligent. But now he's trying to restart and reinvent himself to figure out, okay, take this opportunity now that as a faith-based person, he feels like God put on his lap, and use that productively. And so again, both of us, faith-based, I'm like, dude, this is just really weird, because like I was just looking into music and I found this website, check it out. You know, I'm sure you can sell your songs to them. They do contracts. Like, that's a whole potential new avenue for him. As he hits the restart button, he had put off DJing for 10 years. And now that he has this gap in time because he just recently got let go of a job, he's like, you know, something's telling me to go do this. And lo and behold, as you heard the music today, he's going to start looking into publishing that. And so what makes that super interesting is he has that ability to restart, right? He's a corporate security professional like myself. He has a family, but he's had that burning desire in the background. He used to DJ in his teens and he's put it off. And now listening to what's going on around him and having this opportunity, he's like, let me explore this. And who knows? Like I said, he wasn't even aware that streamers and content creators like myself need access to this type of music. So he's hitting restart. And so it's just a really interesting thing this week that I ran into. And so I really hope you love the beat. #Storming, that's not his real name. But you'll hear it at the end as well. It's super cool, but it's going to be on my stream moving forward, on my gaming stream. But another example I want to throw out there too is I have a content manager, social media manager that works for me. And she's responsible for doing a lot of my posts to LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, for my business profile. So my personal profile, but then also trying to connect it to my consulting company, Line Consular. And she does an amazing job, very creative. But working with her the past, few months, she created a handle on Instagram called Artreka, and super talented on Instagram. Man, there's that win. So hopefully it's not distracting. But she's Artreka on Instagram, and she does time-lapse videos as she does drawings and like just shows pictures of the drawings she created. But the reason she's doing that now is she had to hit the restart button. She had suppressed her passion for art for almost a decade. And through life circumstances, she reconnected with it and fully embraced it. And in the talent that this person has, it's interesting that for 10 years, she had suppressed that, right? She had felt that it wasn't something that she needed to pursue while she pursued other things that might be, quote unquote, more productive. But when you look at her artwork, or when you watch her, if you look at her Instagram and she does time-lapse videos, for me, I am not artistic. I can't create like that. But I find beauty in people that can, and what they produce. It is just amazing. And so she was able to hit restart recently, and in 2 months, she has this Instagram page, she has a Patreon, trying to really make this work, and she's tying that skill set into social media management. And so it's just been amazing seeing that journey. But like Stormy, Artreka was like worried, like where is this going to lead? Like why? Like, how could I possibly find a career doing artwork? Well, I think there's lots of people that can. But the point being is sometimes we get so ingrained and engrossed in our routines, in what life has dealt us, that we are hesitant to hit restart. Right? And both these people had that opportunity to do it, and they're finding and exploring themselves. Now, who knows where it's going to go? But that's the point, right? The point is, if you're not happy with your current circumstances, and you have the ability and means, by whatever means, to potentially hit restart, why not? But stories upon stories, even my personal reflection, when it comes to our personal life, that's not inanimate, right? It's not inconsequential. Decisions I make in my life could potentially lead to downstream effects in the future. But ironically, we always have an opportunity to restart ourselves, right? I had mentioned in previous podcasts, in 2008 to 2010, my wife and I opened a business, a CrossFit gym, and we didn't survive. We were impacted by the economic downturn. and we had to declare personal bankruptcy and business bankruptcy. That was 14 years ago when we opened the gym. It was 12 years ago when we closed the gym. And at that time, it was probably one of the lowest financial times I've ever felt. And I was forced to restart because of those circumstances. But as a faith-based person, I could look back and go, I'm thankful that I had to restart. Because had I continued down that path, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I am happy. And I'll never know what would have happened if I would have been successful on that path. But that's what's interesting about life. That's what's interesting about the ability to restart. So what if I restart now and go down a different direction that's calling me? I'll never know what the other path had anyway. Could have been good, could have been bad. Doesn't matter. I'm committing by hitting restart to this new path. And I'll tell you what, if something goes bad down that path, then why not have confidence and faith in yourself to restart again and pivot a different direction? But we all get comfortable, and we all let fear, real fear, scary fear, as well as fear in the sense of false events appearing real, we let all that hold us back. And I can't tell you, I'm just one person that loves like motivational speeches, and I follow a handful of folks online. Steve Harvey stuff I really love. He has motivational stuff. I listen to Simon Sinek, not so much motivational, but I like his perspective on leadership. Gary Vaynerchuk, love his stuff. But what's interesting is time and time again, regardless of who I'm listening to, what you hear is people, one, I've said it before, is at the end of your days, more often than not, you're going to regret the things you didn't do than the things you did do. I've said that before, and we've all heard it. But the second thing is, more often than not, people stop at that precipice of being successful because they get to the point where there's fear, or they get to the point where they could step forward on this new journey, hit that restart, and start something for themselves. But right when they get to that point of making that decision to restart, people retract. Often it happens right at that point that could have determined success, because we talk ourselves out of it. We get comfortable. We get worried about, what about the time investment I have in this job? Why would I leave it? Oh man, this relationship I've been in for X number of years, why would I leave it? Who am I ever going to find now? Why do I have to restart? And so we settle. And so the purpose of me talking about restarting is, ask yourself, are there areas in your life where you should restart? Right? The last example I'll use is when I started doing my content streaming for Dr. Lion Den, which is my gaming streaming site and kind of my like little fun, content creation stuff. A month ago I started it, and I was worried, and I did a podcast on that. I was worried that, why would I want to do gaming streaming? Like, I started a company. I'm a CEO of this company. We're trying to get launched this year. I'm an author. I'm in a doctoral program. Hopefully in the next year, not hopefully, I will have my doctorate within 15 months. It is hard, don't get me wrong. But, I work for Google. I've been in a tech company for 14 years now. And so like, for me, I was asking myself, like, who am I to go and do some gaming content creation? Like, why? But I decided, like, no, let me hit restart with this whole idea that I can't do it. With this whole idea, there's this anti-persona. Like, you can't game if you're all these other things. I'm like, no, let me hit restart, because something inside of me is telling me to do this. I want this. I want to be happy. And I've been down this content creation for the past 3 months with regard to my gaming channel. And I love it. And I can still fit it in with all these other things. I find specific times of the day where I can fit it in, and I schedule it. And I love it. Like, I haven't felt that much joy in like what's supposed to be a job. Content creation is not easy, folks. I'm telling you right now. If you yourself want to do it, if you have kids that are interested in this and getting on like social media and streaming stuff, like that's kind of the wave of the future. If you don't know a little bit about it, you're going to be left behind. If you know a lot about it, keep at it because it's only going to get bigger. But there's so much stuff that I've learned from it. Not just like, oh, I'm going to get in front of a video. I'm going to get in front of a video and I get to play games all day. Like, no, I don't go all day because it's tiresome. So I'd do set times. But B, the way I've done it, if you've looked at my room in the previous podcast, I don't do anything easy. But what I've learned, because I don't do everything easy, like you'll see a camera right over my shoulder if you're watching me on the podcast. If you're not, basically it's just a DSLR camera that I've had for a couple of years that I haven't used, but it's a focus camera that I have on one of my statues. I've decided as part of my streaming, I'm going to feature a new statue in my amazing office. That's part of my personality. So I have a dedicated camera to that. It wasn't easy to figure out how do I set that camera behind me connecting to all these other devices. And then my new camera in front of me, setting that up. I have lighting systems. I have 3 monitors in front of me. I have this dedicated mini mixer, which is sound. I have 2 what they call stream decks where I can control apps at the push of a button. I have a pedal that makes a really, really cool sound. Roar, right? For Dr. Lion's Den. All these things were not easy to do. But the skill and the insight and the appreciation it gave me for people that do this professionally, and the appreciation it gave me to go like, no, I'm not just doing this as a hobby. I am a content creator. By hitting restart, going down this path, I realized, what was I afraid of? All these things I'm doing are going to contribute to my consulting business. Like I tell you right now, all of the ins and outs of social media that I've had to work, all the controls and working with all these devices that I've had to use, that is going to bleed its way into my other areas of life. And it's brought me happiness because I was willing to hit restart. I let go of this idea, this anti-persona, like, oh, I can't do that. If I'm all these other things, like I have to have this image. Like, no, forget the image. But I had the courage to hit restart, not knowing where it was going to go, but also knowing that if it doesn't work out, I'll hit restart again and pivot. So a couple of kind of tips as I'm going to get close to the end here. One is I'm on my Remarkable. If you're watching me on video, it's this really cool tablet. I've been using it a lot. So I am not affiliated with them. I might have to seek on how I can get affiliated with them because I love this device. It is the size of an iPad, but thinner. But if you are a person that likes the tactile nature of writing like pencil on paper, Remarkable is great. It's fairly basic. Doesn't replace an iPad, but the ability to take it and write notes and have an app that goes to my desktop and I can it's remarkable. So if you're watching me on YouTube, you'll see it. I'm holding it up. If not, look up Remarkable. It's a tablet. It's amazing. Hopefully Remarkable, if you're going to hear this, maybe we'll become affiliated in the future. That's that whole content creation bleeding out of me, folks. I apologize. But as I look at my Remarkable for notes, there's four things I want you to ask yourself when it comes to hitting restart. The first is, are you hesitant to hit restart on something? Right? Ask yourself. Is it entrepreneurship, like you want to start your own business? Is it seeking a new job? Is it ending a relationship? Is it ending a friendship? Or a hobby? Or maybe where you live. You are just fed up with where you live. In any of those categories or others, right? Is there something that you're hesitant to hit restart on? That's one. You have to ask yourself that. Because I think it's very revealing if you can say, yeah, there's this, I've really been wanting to do X, but I just haven't, right? Does it mean that you have to hit restart for your mindset, to just reframe your mindset and get over yourself to seek it? Or are you in one of these things? Are you in a relationship that you're like, I need to get out of this one. And you need to hit restart to seek something better that'll make you happy. Is it that job? Maybe you got 15 years in a job and you got a pension and you're very secure. You know the business, people know you, but it's draining you. Maybe that needs to be a hit restart. So identify, what is it, right? Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe there's a hobby that you thought you loved, but it's draining you and it doesn't bring you the joy that you want, but you're doing it because maybe you've developed a circle of friends and now you feel like you're identified by that hobby with them, right? So number one, ask yourself if you're hesitant to hit that restart button on something. Figure out what that is first. Number two, then ask yourself, what is holding you back? So if you can figure out, maybe it is that job, like, I've been wanting to hit restart, but I know I'm not happy there, but now why bother? So the step two would be is knowing that what's holding you back. Is it fear? Like real fear, like scary fear? Or is it false events appearing real? If I restart, I'm never going to find another relationship. If I restart, I'm never going to find a job like this. Find out what's holding you back. You have to identify it. Is it your perception that others will have of you that's holding you back? Like literally, that's the only thing is, I'm afraid of what people are going to think of me if I leave this high paying job. I'm afraid of people who are going to think of me if I leave this relationship because we're so dedicated. They love this person. Identify what that thing is. So knowing where you need to hit restart is number one. Number two is identifying what is it that's keeping you from pushing that button, that virtual button. Then number three, I want you to ask yourself, what would it take for you to hit restart? That's a scary one, right? So let's say it is a job. So you identified, I need to leave this job. And number two, let's say what's holding you back is, I have seniority in the company. Or, what's holding me back is I'm just comfortable. So ask yourself that third question is, what's it going to take for me to hit restart? Knowing that you want to hit restart anyway. You already kind of have that inkling. Number three, ask yourself, what would it take? Does it take lining up another job so that you're comfortable in that transition? Is it going to take literally you just getting over yourself and going, to heck with what everybody might think of me if I leave this person in this relationship? It's my life, not theirs. Maybe it's just that mind shift, that mindset. If it's a relationship, what would it take? Is it family support? Do you need to confide in loved ones saying, look, I'm just super unhappy here and I'm not me and I need to reconnect with me and I need your support? Find out what it would take and determine if you can achieve it. Can you get that? Can I open up to someone and say, look, I want to leave this job, but I just need some insight. I want to leave this relationship, but you know what I need? I need support. I need someone that's going to be on my side. I just need that little bit of an edge. If it's your job and you're worried about your identity, are you willing to just go to hell with what people think about my identity? Like what cares is what I think about myself. So identify what it's going to take and then figure out what you can do to achieve that. And the fourth one, and I think this is important and it helps contribute to step 3, is ask yourself, what's the worst that's going to happen if I hit restart? So you've identified what you need to restart. You're asked yourself, what is holding me back? Then you've determined what would it take to hit that button, and then you get what you need from that step, be it support, whatever. Now, number 4 is ask yourself, what's the worst that's going to happen? And that one, I think, is the most freeing one. Because if you really think about it, there's 2 ultimate paths, right? The worst thing that's going to happen if you hit restart, you have to hit restart again. That's it. Like you can hit it, go down this path and go, time out, I was wrong. Then you hit restart again and you've shifted another path. You did it once, why couldn't you do it again? And number 2 is a fun one. You might actually reach a new level of happiness. That's really it. Right? Now, sure, you can come up with all kinds of excuses, all kinds of scenarios going, well, Eli, it's not that easy. Well, it kind of is. If you already know that you want to hit restart on something because you're unhappy at a job, you're unhappy with a relationship, you're unhappy where you live, you're unhappy already. So why not hit restart and change it? Knowing that step forward is either going to end up in you having a restart because you didn't quite land where you needed to, but at least you had the courage to hit restart to begin with. You'll be amazed the second time you hit restart, not as hard. Right? Not as hard. But best case scenario, you hit restart and you become super happy and you get this new level of happiness in life because you listen to yourself. So that's it. Be willing to hit restart. We do it every day. Honestly, I think technology is giving us practice intentionally. We hit restart every single day. So why not do it in something in your life where you need it, where actually is going to be some type of impact? So that's it for today. I really appreciate you listening to me, whether or not you listen to me on a podcast, YouTube. I asked a couple things. One is give me a like wherever you're at. Give me a thumbs up, a like, a comment. Subscribe to my stream if you're on podcast. Subscribe to me on YouTube if you're there. It really does go a long way. I look at my metrics regularly, and it means a lot. As I close, do me a favor. Reach out to someone that you love, that you care about, and talk to them. Let them know you're there. Call someone, text someone, do a Zoom if you're too far away. But yeah, tell someone you love them. You never know who might need that message from you. And last thing, as I close out, share my message. I think as I'm trying to build a community with this content creation, it's more than a podcast for me. It really is about building content for folks that they may be able to connect with, or that I might be able to assist a person that really just needed my message that day. So do me a favor, share it out. That's it from me. I'm Eli Elbelos, your host, and this is Eli's Echo. Thank you.